One second. Just a second. Here we will be discussing June 2020 questions. Okay. June 2020 questions. This is the aims question paper and here I have already solved it. So
Discuss now. So let's start with the anatomy. So in the anatomy, you have transitional epithelium lines all the following except. So transitional epithelium, it lines all the following except. Transitional epithelium, it lines the minor calyx. Okay. Transitional epithelium, it lies the minor calyx. It lines the renal pelvis. It lies the ureter, but it do not lie the membranous urethra. Minor calyx, renal pelvis, ureter, but not the urethra, membranous urethra. Because membranous urethra is lined by stratified columnar epithelium. Membranous urethra lined by stratified columnar. But all other like renal pelvis, minor calyx, ureter, these are lined by the transitional epithelium. What is the difference between exocrine pancreas and parotid gland? Okay, pancreas is a mixed organ. It contains both the endocrine and the exocrine portion. So the parotid gland is the difference between exocrine pancreas and parotid. So presence of serous acini with acidophilic tip. So this is similarity. Both of them have the serous acini with acidophilic tip. Second option is absence of striated duct. See, striated duct is present in parotid gland, but exocrine pancreas lacks the striated ducts. So striated ducts are absent in exocrine pancreas. These are present in parotid gland. Serous acini supported by basal lamina. Apical acinar villi. Correct. Predominant cells present at isthmus of gastric pit. Gastric pit is there, na? Isthmus of gastric pit is stem cells. Okay. Actually, answers are not given because I've already marked there. Two zero one questions are there. Okay, so predominant cells present in isthmus of gastric pit. For more explanation, I'll ask Chivana because I have a ulcer on my sore on my gums and lips. I'm not able to speak. Okay. Predominant cells present at isthmus of gastric pit. Option 1 is G cells. Isthmus. Isthmus. The isthmus of gastric pit is a crucial region for gastric epithelial renewal. So the isthmus of the gastric pit is crucial region for gastric epithelial renewal because it contains the stem cells. Stem cells are the undifferentiated cells or progenitor cells. These are most important cells in the isthmus. They are highly proliferative, responsible for generating all the different cell types of the gastric gland, including surface mucus, mucous neck cells, parietal cells, oxyntic cells, chief zymogenic cells, enteroendocrine cells. Stem cells in the isthmus are rapidly cycling and continuously replenishing gastric epithelium due to its high turnover rate. Parietal oxyntic cells were found throughout the gastric gland. Parietal cells are notably differentiated mucous cells. Stem cells are predominant and most functionally significant cells in the isthmus. In the isthmus. Okay. Next question. Mention the action of the muscles on hip mark structure as given below. Asking this one. This is the gluteus maximus and the function of it. So once let's revise all the muscles attached to the hip joint. Mention the actions of all the muscles on hip joint.
The hip joint is a ball and socket.
The hip joint, ball socket down and rows. You can listen it.
Many muscles act on the hip joint, enabling various actions. These muscles are often grouped by their primary action. Here's a breakdown of the major muscles and their actions on the hip joint. 1. Hip flexion, bringing the thigh forward. Primary flexors, iliopsoas, iliacus and psoas major. These are the most powerful hip flexors. Assisting flexors, rectus femoris, part of the quadriceps femoris group, also acts on the knee, sartorius. The longest muscle in the body, also involved in abduction and external rotation, pectineus. Also involved in adduction and medial rotation, adductor longus, brevis, and superior part of magnus. While primarily adductors, they can assist with flexion, especially when the hip is extended. Tensor fasciae latae.
What are the muscles present on the hip joint?
The hip joint is surrounded by a complex network of muscles that allow for its wide range of motion and provide crucial stability. These muscles are typically categorized by their primary action on the hip. Here's a comprehensive list of the muscles present on the hip joint, grouped by their main functions. I. Hip flexors. Move the thigh forward/upwards. Iliopsoas. This is a combination.
Explain the attachment of muscles on hip joint.
Understanding the attachments of muscles on the hip joint is crucial for comprehending their actions and how they contribute to movement and stability. Muscles typically have two main attachment points. Origin, the more proximal, closer to the trunk, and generally more stable attachment point. Insertion, the more distal, further from the trunk, and generally more mobile attachment point. When a muscle contracts, its insertion point moves towards its origin, causing movement at the joint it crosses. Here's a breakdown of the major muscle groups acting on the hip joint and their typical attachments. 1.
Explain me the attachment of different muscles on the hip bone with the help of analogy and diagrams.
I can definitely explain the attachment of muscles on the hip joint with an analogy. However, I cannot create diagrams directly. I can describe them in detail, and you can imagine or sketch them as I explain. Let's use an analogy where the hip joint is a giant, well-oiled mechanical pivot point, like a high-tech robotic arm joint. Analogy, the robotic arm and its actuators, muscles. Imagine the pelvis as the stationary base of our robotic arm, firmly bolted to the ground. The femur, thigh bone, is the moving arm segment extending from the base. The hip joint is the pivot point L, allowing the arm to move in many directions. Now, the muscles are like the hydraulic cylinders, cables, and motors, actuators, that are strategically attached to the base and the arm segment. When these actuators contract, pull, they make the arm segment move. Key concepts in the analogy. Origin, the fixed end of the hydraulic cylinder/cable/motor, bolted securely to the stationary base, pelvis/spine. This is where the power originates. Insertion, the moving end of the hydraulic cylinder/cable.
Explain me the attachment of gluteus maximus and show the pictures of attachment of gluteus maximus on hip bone. Hip bone.
The gluteus maximus is truly one of the most remarkable muscles in the human body. It's not just the largest and heaviest, forming the prominent shape of our buttocks, but it's also a powerhouse for hip extension, crucial for movements like standing up, climbing, and running. Let's break down its attachments. Attachment of gluteus maximus. The gluteus maximus has a very broad origin and a strong, bifurcated, split insertion. Origin, The anchoring points where it starts. The gluteus maximus originates from a wide area on the posterior back aspect of the pelvis and sacrum. Imagine it as a large, fan shaped muscle that gathers its fibers from several points.
Show me the images of attachment of gluteus maximus on hip bone. Okay, anyways, let's discuss it very quickly. Just do it, okay? So this one is transition epithelium lines all the following. So transition epithelium is present in the urinary thing, okay? Internal things like manner, calyx, renal pelvis, ureter. But urethra, femoris urethra is outside, so it is stratified columnar. Okay, coming next, difference between exocrine and pancreas and parotid gland. So exocrine pancreas and parotid gland, these are all having duct. These are having duct. So both of them have serous acinine and acidophilic tip. Absence of striated duct. See, striated duct is present in parotid, but striated ducts are absent in pancreas. Okay, so this is the correct answer. Predominant cells present at isthmus of gastric pit. Gastric pit is having isthmus is having stem cells, which can give rise to other cells, mucous cells, neck cells, abscentic cells, other cells. So this is basically gluteus maximus, and gluteus maximus have radial rotation and hip extension. Phonics phonics fibers contain commissural and association fibers. Two hemispheres are joined by commissural, and same hemispheres are joined by association fibers. Hemisphere joined by association fibers. This is the phonics etc. from the arrow marked area. So this area. This is the infundibulum. I2 cells are located in C. I2 cells are located in space of Disc. Space of Disc. Okay? Space of Disc I2 cells. Neurotransmitter secreted from the arrow marked area is neurotransmitter is dopamine. Okay. Decussation, because this is substantia nigra. Substantia nigra we have it is rich source of it is having it is rich in dopamine. Decussation of superior cerebellar peduncle occurs at midbrain. It is inferior colliculus. Superior cerebellar peduncle occurs at midbrain. Medial lemniscus is continuation of fasciculus gracilis. All are following are contains contents of carotid sheath except so carotid sheath it has common carotid artery, internal jugular vein, okay, and vagus nerve. But this sympathetic chain is present outside the carotid sheath. It's present posterior. So carotid sheath has three things: carotid artery, common carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and the vagus nerve. So one artery, one vein, and one nerve. Common carotid artery, internal jugular vein, and vagus nerve. But pretracheal layer covers all the following except pretracheal layer covers all the following except so it covers the esophagus, sternocleidomastoid, thyroid. It do not cover the sternocleidomastoid because it is a investing layer. It covers sternocleidomastoid. The lung extends up to which level of liver during inspiration? Which the lung extends up to which level of liver during deep respiration? Up to here only they can extend. Up to here, deep is there, no? Then way. Okay, so deep is way. Okay, up to the rib 7 and T10 thoracic vertebra. Ischemia of which part of internal capsule leads to contralateral motor loss in upper and lower limb. So contralateral motor loss in upper and lower limb, posterior limb. So ischemia in which part of internal capsule? That is cortico spinal tract, posterior limb. A fracture at marked, this is the marked point, at marked arrow leads to bleeding of which artery? This middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal artery. This middle meningeal artery. Middle meningeal artery. Identify the not English. Yeah. Identify the pyriform fossa. Pyriform fossa is the A1. Next, which of the following hormone acts through intracellular receptor? Intracellular receptors, thyroxine. Intracellular receptors. Intercellular receptors are it, which is present on the cell itself. These are non-lipid. These are non-lipid. Intracellular and lipid. Okay, thyroxine is the intracellular receptor. Gibbs-Donan equilibrium is mainly due to proteins. Gibbs-Donan equilibrium is due to proteins. So Gibbs-Donan is Don, so he's having a lot of muscle, lot of protein. Okay. Intercellular communication in eukaryotes is mediated by exosome. In physiology, Viva the examiner asked the student who recorded the first human EEG. Student is one I don't know. Examiner gave him a hint. The name rhymes with what you get at McDonald's. Of learning is known as priming, neocortex. Priming. To get at McDonald's burger. So the first human EEG is burger. Okay. Its skeletal muscle, DHPR and NYR receptors are coupled by electrical followed by mechanical. Which value is not required to measure creatinine clearance? Volume of serum passing through kidney in 24 hours. So the formula to calculate creatinine clearance is UV by P, where U is urine creatinine in 24 hours and V is into multiplied by 24-hour urine volume. Urine creatinine in 24 hours into 24-hour urine volume divided by serum creatinine. With volume of serum passing through kidney in 24 hours is not required. The grams of mannitol was injected via 10 grams of mannitol was injected by IV equilibrium. Plasma concentration of mannitol is 65 mg per 100 ml. After 10% of urinary excretion, calculate ECF volume. After 10% of urine excretion, calculate the urine volume. So it is 14 liters. A 65-year-old male patient visited the emergency for chest pain and his BP was recorded 190 upon 110 and pulse pressure 90 mm. Which of the following parameters explains his high pulse pressure? It is atrial wall compliance. Atrial wall compliance. Mechanism of transcutaneous electrical nerve stimulation, TENS. Management of pain is based on gating in spinal cord. Single neuron receiving input from 150 different sensory cells and produced an output stimulus of 500. This phenomena is known as divergence. Single neuron receives the input from 150 different sensory cells Produce an output of 150, 500. So it doesn't sense. In negative feedback gain is infinity in each of the following: blood volume controlled by kidney. Enzyme present in both glycolysis and gluconeogenesis. So enzyme which is present in both glycolysis also and gluconeogenesis is phosphoglycerate kinase. Phosphoglycerate kinase. It is present in both. PK. Phosphoglycerate kinase. PK is both like glycolysis is gluconeogenesis. Gluconeogenesis means genesis of glucose from new ones like proteins, amino acid, fats. Neonatal seizures occurs due to deficiency of vitamin B6, that is pyridoxine. So the following is not an enzyme of cholesterol by its synthesis. Not an enzyme is HMG-CoAs lyase. CoA lyase is not a enzyme. HMG-CoA lyase is not a enzyme. Okay. Cholesterol synthesis HMG reductase synthase system. Okay. The given structure is of what? CH2H, it's a decollector system. This given structure is of degalactose. The given structure is of keratin sulfate. Keratin sulfate. Glucose is stored in glycogen form. Why? Because it is compact. Ammonia is detoxified in brain by leading to formation of glutamine. Glutamine, not urea, not alanine, not arginine. Glutamine. Next question: DNA methylation is not related to capping. Okay, mismatch repair, gene silencing, DNA function. Capping. DNA methylation is not related to capping. Because capping is related to RNA methylation. Because DNA will not be capping thing. RNA will go. Ecumeral antagonizes the action of vitamin K by competitive inhibition. Vitamin K and ecumeral antagonize by competitive inhibition. Sequence of vitamin D synthesis first from skin, then liver and kidney. Pathology. APF1 is involved in the activation of which of the following caspase? Caspase 9. Which of the following is not true about stem cells? Inhibiting by what's NANOC? Not true about stem cells. They can replicate, they can replicate, can repair or damaged tissues. May grow without any regulatory? No. If they grow without any regulatory, then it's cancer. Okay. It is inhibited by NANOG. Okay. Hayflick's limit is defined as which of the following? Total number of time cells can divide before division stops. Total number of time cells can divide before division stops. Which of the following is not a component of Pap stain? It has the orange C6 hematoxylin. Eosin B, it lacks the light green acid. There is no green. Orange hematoxylin eosin. Which of the following is not a cross-linking fixative? It is methanol. Because not a cross-linking fixative. Which of the following is the mechanism of type 4 hypersensitivity reaction? Type 4 hypersensitivity reaction is cell-mediated reaction. So the following is not true about liquid biopsy. The following is not true about liquid biopsy. Fluid collected from tumor microenvironment. This is not correct. Specimen may be used. Sanger sequencing used to use cell-free DNA may be collected. Which of the following is true about G6PD deficiency? G6PD deficiency presence of spherical cells may be seen. The following is true. So in G6PD, spherical cells are there. RBCs are spherical. Episodic hemolysis, not chronic. It causes episodic. Resistant to hemolysis in hypotonic cell, no. Sensitive to hemolysis in hypotonic because already spherical, balloon like and burst. Spectrum is born in pathogenesis of spherocytosis, not G6PD. The tube shown in the given image which are the following chemicals. So it is clot activator. Red cap means clot activator. When numerical aperture of the objective lens is decreased, what change in the image above? If the numerical aperture of objective lens is increased, what changes in the image observed? If the numerical aperture of the objective lens is increased, the numerical aperture of the objective lens is increased, change in the image observed, increased magnification. The numerical aperture of objective lens is increased. With the graph of gamma chain in the color coded graph of globin chain production. Graph of gamma chain in the color coded. The unconjugated hypoglycemia among the urinary bilirubin. Soluble water. Isotype class which is in which of the following activated B cell. Okay, fine. So the following drug is antidote for overdosage of fibrinol, epsilon aminocaproic acid.